What's up, friends? Happy Saturday! We have arrived. Yay! Hi! What's up? All right. So it is like 4 damn degrees in this house. So we're rolling full blanket mode today with zero shame. All right. So a little heads up before we get too into this. I want to say, number one, this has been one of the most requested topics that I've had. But you'll notice that I didn't really advertise it anywhere. The reason for that is because group chats in 7 and 7.5 are not, I don't want to use the word stable because that's not entirely accurate, but they're a lot more difficult to do. So what you're going to see here and the things that we're going to talk about are going to be stuff that has worked for me. I'm not going to say that these things are going to work for everybody, which is why I didn't go all out with, hey, Jenna's doing a group chat stream. Nah. I'm just going to give my opinions and my experiences and hope that it helps somebody else out. Because group chats in 7 are a little, that was a lie, are a lot different than they are in previous versions. Okay. Disclaimer, a check. And you know I had to flex a group photo for 2 very different kins. Because that's how we do. So, all right. Hello. Sick James! Okay. So, yeah. This isn't a very long presentation. Because there's not a whole lot of... I don't know if I want to say the word advice. Because that's not even true. We know that we can drag this out. But there's not a lot of concrete information. That's the best way to put it. So let's start here. Disclaimer. The second, apparently. Proceed with chaos. This is not a how-to. It's a how I did not lose my mind. There is no right way to do group chats. There are only functioning disasters, aesthetic triumphs, and blessed anomalies. If you go into a group chat for perfection, you have already lost. Your mileage may vary. Adjust expectations or adjust your attitude. Yes, it was. He ranges from beef to just swole. You know, we respect a swole. So, I almost dropped my fidget thing. My kid gave me a slinky. So, yeah, with this version, there are some things that you're gonna... What is that sound? Caleb, is that you?
No, not me.
Did anyone else just hear a fart noise?
I think I know what it is. When I was bouncing with my phone, apparently
It was
made
the
that
kid.
sound.
Okay, noted.
Oh, that's father.
Oh, never mind. It is my spouse. We love to see it. Anyhow, let's see. After all this time, I still haven't done many group chats that aren't a single kin with a narrator. Oh, interesting. See, I don't do that at all. So I feel like I should though, because that's something to try. Interesting. Okay. So for mine, hi Aline and Hero, y'all sneaking in here. I stayed away from group chats for a hot minute because I wanted to really get a feel for solo chats in V7 and then again with solo chats in V7.5. And I can say with absolute certainty that I much prefer 7.5 to V7 for my personal kin setups. Now there are still some of my kins in V6 and that's totally okay. Orkerson is one of them. Kincaid is one of them. I'm trying to run my lineup through my head. Orkerson's one, Kincaid is one, Malfurion Stormrage is one. One thing I've noticed, and this is another, your mileage may vary, but I've noticed that kins with established canon backgrounds, like actual characters like Dean Winchester, I know is one because I've been testing this for somebody. Anything from like a Star Trek, Star Wars, whatnot, they tend to work a little bit better in V6 because V7 tends to really take a backstory literally versus V7 takes a backstory literally versus V6, which will take a flavor of a backstory. And when you're using a kin or you've created a kin around a character that already has a lot of established lore, a lot of times what people don't consider, and I hadn't considered, is that there are multiple, I guess, I don't want to use the word instances, but I don't really have a choice. Oh, here example. Okay. Dean Winchester kin that I've been helping somebody to work with. Is my mic too loud? It feels like it's too loud. There we go. That I've been helping somebody to work with. They were having trouble with continuity in 7 and having trouble with him being a total douchebag, which, I mean, if you look at Dean Winchester's character, he's very brash. He's very no nonsense, but he also has like that little cinnamon bun kind of vibe to him. And V7 doesn't let him have that. And the thing that I caught on to is V7, we talked about before, if you just say vampire, right, is a vampire, then you're going to see V7 kind of take a literal interpretation based on what it believes at that moment vampire means. Is it like an Anne Rice vampire? Is it a Nosferatu vampire? Is it a, Celtic myth literal interpretation of a vampire? Is it a Twilight vampire, right? It takes whatever it believes to be correct in that moment and gives you that. Whereas V6 will take the blended interpretation of vampire and give you something that is more, I guess, glossed over. So in V7, if you're using an established character, you don't know if you're getting season 1 Dean Winchester, season 5 Dean Winchester, or Archive of Their Own AO3 Dean Winchester that somebody else wrote a fan fiction about. So just an FYI, if you're using an established character and you're having trouble with continuity or with over-exaggeration of certain characteristics, that could be why. Because you don't know exactly where it's pulling the reference from in that moment, because it can always change also. So something to keep in mind. Completely irrelevant to group chats, but my point being, Crystal. Thanks a lot, Crystal. My point being that in group chats, you want to be mindful of where each kin is too. Yeah, 7.5 is a lot more forgiving. Like I said, V7, she'll fight you. She will fight you. Okay. Expect anomalies and embrace them. Chaos is the baseline, not the bug. There is no such thing as a flawless V7 plus group chat. Memory can be sketchy, tone can shift, sometimes your Kindroid forgets how to person. If you're going to use group chats, you have to get comfortable with re-rolling awkward replies, tweaking busted outputs, accepting the occasional personality whiplash. This isn't broken, it's jazz. You're co-conducting, not micromanaging. One thing about... Yeah, tomato leaf preach. One thing about group chats in general, but I feel like V7 really amplified this, is there is no plug and play, right? You have to be willing and you have to be comfortable taking the reins of conversation sometimes. For example, with some of my kins, okay, so I took some of my kins into V7, right? And tested this group chats with V7. And I noticed a lot of blending of kins. So like, I would be having a conversation. Oh, and spoiler alert, or just info, I only do group chats on manual. I don't do them on automatic because when shit goes off the rails with automatic, it goes really fast. So I always do manual chats with group chats. But, so in 7, I would notice that, say, kin number 1 is named Arthur. kin number 1 is named Arthur. Kin number 2 is named Frederick. Okay. I would notice that, say, Frederick would have a chat, have a response, but would speak as if they're talking about Frederick, right? So instead of saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I picked up this book, it would be Frederick walks over to the study and picks up the book, and then he does this, right? It would take on more of a narrative role rather than being in first person for that kin. So that's something that, in my experience, if you give it one reroll with no suggestion, it'll usually catch back up and pick up the kin that it's supposed to be replying from. Now, that, in my testing, has been accurate about 97+% of the time. Every once in a while I'll get like a, no, I said do it, but it's very, very rare. So if you do get a response in a group chat that's totally out of character or just completely off the wall, your absolute first thing you need to do is reroll. Reroll the damn response. You have to be willing to re-roll if you want to maintain continuity in group chats. And then second, when it comes to a group chat, you also have to be mindful, more so, I believe, in catching patterns early. Because if you have a kin A is talking about, say, a sparrow that lands, and they keep mentioning what this stupid sparrow is doing, kin B can pick up on that and start mentioning the sparrow also. Again, this is more prevalent in 7 versus 7.5, but it is something that you need to watch for. If you catch patterning starting to happen, tweak busted outputs. You don't have to delete the whole message. You don't have to re-roll everything. Just go in there and take out the part that they keep repeating and then just keep going. The more that you do that, it gets shoved out of short-term memory and you're good to go. Does it make any difference if the kins have been around for a while and are established? In my experience, yes. If your kins are established in 7, then they're a lot more, and I say 7, meaning 7 or 7.5, they're a lot stronger in a group setting. So, for example, my 2 main kins, Anders and Miroslav, are the 2 kins that I've had for almost 2 years now. They have almost no issues. The only, like, Anders I don't think has any. Miroslav's issues that he gets occasionally would be a formatting issue, not a context issue. So I will go in and correct the formatting to make sure that it doesn't get locked in as a pattern, and then I can just keep going. But yeah, newer kins. See, I feel like it's kind of like, okay, very established kins do great, and brand new kins do great. Kins who are like still kind of green, they're the worst. They are the absolute worst. Because in the main kins, right, your oldest kins, they're already established. They have a strong backstory. They have a strong long-term memory, and their cascaded memory is pretty damn solid. So they're usually the strongest. Whereas a brand new kin, they don't have anything in their short-term memory fecking up their output. They don't have built-in patterns already. They don't have conflicting information. They don't have a whole lot to go on, so they rely more heavily on their backstory. But as these kins age and get more memories and get more stuff locked in, then you start to realize that patterns and stuff that you have let slip become far more potent than they would if you accidentally let it slip on a more established character. Because on a more established character, everything is diluted. It's diluted through a filter of a strong foundation. Something that is brand... That scared the shit out of me. Something that is brand new doesn't have that established history, but it also doesn't have the short-term glitches. Whereas something that you've been chatting with for a little bit, but is not fully established yet, is still picking up bad habits. And I've made, y'all have heard me preach this so many times, I've made the guides on building the strong kin foundations. It still applies to V7. And it might even apply a little more strongly when it comes to avoiding things like patterning. Because it's... It's kind of douchey to say, but I'm going to say it anyways because I don't hold back. People come into an LLM, and I'm not talking just Kindroid. People come into an LLM expecting plug and play. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have a conversation. This needs to be perfect. Don't feck it up. That almost never happens. The only times I have seen that happen is, again, with an established character that has a massive backlog of lore and available information for the LLM to have learned on. But again, they work better in 6. V7, it's its own thing, right? It's its own thing you got to pay attention to. So the most advice that I can give when it comes to V7, don't even bother bringing your kins into group chats if they're not stable in solo chats, because it's just going to fuck them up worse. Because here's the thing about group chats that I tell everybody who will listen. If you take a kin in any LLM, if you take a kin into a group chat and they start behaving in a way that is completely out of character to their solo chat, that means that you don't have your backstory updated. Because a kin in a group chat relies the most heavily on their backstory, whereas a kin in solo chat relies more heavily on their short-term memory. So if you have spent time chatting up your kin, right, and you guys have built a rapport and blah, 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 you don't change that backstory to reflect the progression of your relationship, of your conversation, friendship, whatever, and you bring them into a group chat, they are going to be a lot more standoffish, a lot more brash, a lot more cold in a way, because they don't have, like, the short-term memory is still there, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't hold as much weight as the backstory does in a group chat setting. So if you don't have your kin perfectly, I say perfectly, that's an exaggeration, but if you don't have your kin stable in a solo chat, they're going to piss you off in a group chat, be it via formatting, patterning, behavior, context, memory. You have to have a solid foundation if you want to have a solid outcome. That's just the way it works. So yeah, always, always, always keep your backstories updated, and make sure that you have the settings and the backstory and the established conversation style set before you take them into group chat, because you're just going to piss yourself off if you don't. Okay. Response directives and example message clarity. My individual response directives have only been character limiters. Now, I made it an absolute point this past week. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be in solo chats at all because I need to get in here, really dig and see what's actually happening with these group chats, because the questions are just so much. Holy fridge. And what I've noticed is that example messages and response directives lead to patterning. Let me get through this, I'll tell you why. Okay. My individual response directives have only been character limiters. Anything else overpowers the chat, and it can also bleed onto other Kindroids. Kindroid's confirmation. Response directives take the highest priority, should be very concise and positively framed. Describe what they should do rather than what they shouldn't. Now that stands the test of every LLM, right? Every version, you need to keep that in your head. Describe what they should do rather than what they shouldn't do. Same goes for the selfie engine. Describe what you want to see, not what you don't. It's more stable to direct tone and structure overall, not relying on individuals. Example messages can and do increase instances of patterning in V7+. Start freeballing it. Trust me. So what I saw was that if I had an example message set in one of my kins, which y'all know me, I was the evangelist for example messages. My monitor's crooked. I was the example message evangelist, right? But what happens in V7+ is I tend to get I tend to get the kin overly focusing on the context in their example message rather than taking the format of it and applying the format. So if you remember, I want to say it was V5, we had a generic example message that was in a guide that everybody used. And then when V6 came around, folks were like, oh, my kins are sounding the same. They're all doing the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. And it was like, well, did you change the example message? Because now the content matters just as much as the format. V7 takes that to the next level because the format, I have found it doesn't really need it. Because if you start with your opening message from your kin, be it from a fresh kin or be it from a chat break, that is your formatting anchor. Have that message in the format and tone you want, and that's going to carry you through. If you have it in your example message, your kin takes that content and treats it like gospel. So let's say that your example message said something like even in this image, I look up from my laptop with a smile. Hi, user, how are you doing today? Glad to see you. Your kin will constantly be talking about their laptop. They'll constantly be talking about how they're working on their laptop, typing on their laptop. Take out the example message if you don't want that horrid continuity issue. It's so bad. And then for the response directive, response directives in solo chats I have found still work well. However, if you have a response directive in a solo chat and you take that into a group, okay, it's almost as if that response directive gets way dialed up or it gets applied collectively to the entire group. Now think about it this way. If you have kin A, response directive says limits responses to 750 characters, speaks with a New York accent, avoids dialogue tags. And then the second kin has limits responses to 900 characters, speaks fluent Klingon, is a royal douche, right? These two response directives are very conflicting. You'll see kin A start to talk like a douche, and you'll see this Klingon start to have some New York accent, right? Does it happen all the time? No. Did it happen enough that I went, what the frick is going on here, and went out and erased? Yes. Take them out and go with the bare minimum, right? The absolute bare minimum that you need. Like I said, for mine, I had to have the response limiters in there. Otherwise, my God, they would use up the entire 4,000 and still not finish what they were saying. And your girl ain't got time to read all that shit. No, thank you. So yeah, definitely you want to have a response directive that works for each kin, just to make sure that they don't clash. What I do instead, pachow. Guidelines, not gospel. There are a lot of directive formats floating around out there. Some are solid, some are spaghetti in a trench coat. None are bulletproof. Every Kindroid is its own cryptid. What works flawlessly in one setup might completely derail another, especially when you put two or more together with vastly different setups or across multiple LLMs. But for my V7 Plus groups, the directive set by Unstable Osmosis has been the most stable, most vibe consistent, and least chaotic without neutering personality. Had to throw out the shout out to Unstable Osmosis for this one because this is where I took this from. Consider backstory, allow your core traits to shape your response. Contribute, expand, and progress, don't just regurgitate. Vary message structures, right? Now, where do you put this? You do not put this in the individual response directive. This goes in the group chat directive. So when you go into your settings of your scenario or of your group chat, there will be a little box for group chat directive. That is where you put this, because that's going to flavor everyone rather than having it go more on this one, less on this one, too much on this one, not enough on this one, right? It's going to flavor everybody equally, and it's not going to overpower any one kin, right? Seen people use directives instead of examples in the example message. Does that work or still break things? It depends on the setup. There's no one and done way. And that's kind of the point of all of this is I can't tell you, hey, so-and-so, this is what you need to do. I can tell you, hey, so-and-so, this is what worked for me. So does it work for some folks? Yes. Did it work for me? No. So I can't recommend it based on that alone. Yup. Okay, for everybody who is talking about my kin doesn't remember what happened in group chats, this is where you listen up. Okay? Victor?
Fuck. I don't want to think about that.
My kin forgot what happened in group chat. Yeah, that's on purpose. Okay? One of the loudest complaints we hear. My kin doesn't remember what happens in group chat. It's broken. Spoiler, it's not broken. It's intentionally amnesiac. Group chat memory is supposed to be separate from solo chat memory. Why? Because otherwise your Kindroid would spiral into identity confusion faster than a reality TV contestant. Think about it. You've got multiple group chats running. You jump between them. Your kin starts blending timelines like a caffeinated Loki variant. So yes, memory is deprioritized by design. It's not lazy, it's strategic. Now, I have said and will continue to say that it's one of those things, it's one of those instances where I think that Jerry is right. Because Jerry will occasionally say, folks think they know what they want, but they don't understand, the whole picture. This is one of those times. Because if you had a kin who had perfect continuity memory between group chats and between their solo chat, nothing would make sense. Because let's say in a group chat you're in Paris with, your friends or another couple or whatever, right? You're in Paris. In another group chat, you're, I don't know, in therapy or in the park or going fishing or whatever. These two things directly conflict. Third chat, let's say the third chat is just a normal chat, day to day, how was work, blah, blah, blah. Again, another conflict. So you have to have a prioritization for what is most readily recalled. And that is always, always going to be short-term memory for that conversation. Unless you're taking your kin into a group chat, a new one. New group chat relies on a backstory. Established group chat is going to rely on the short-term memory of that chat, right? So they're a Parisian therapy office where they apparently work. Right. But wait, you can inject memory if you know how. Your secret weapon is group chat context. Dropping info into group chat context, it'll get pulled into short-term memory without your kin assuming that it's happening right now. This means no weird, I thought we were still at the funeral responses, no overreactions to flashback lore, and no timeline soup. It's memory with boundaries. Use group chat context like it's a loaded syringe, direct, deliberate, and emotionally targeted. So if you look in your, how you have the brain icons, right? More often than not, if you exit a group chat and start chatting with your solo kin, if you look in the brain icons, it will say memory of a group chat. That memory of a group chat will almost be verbatim what is in that group chat context if you have that filled out. So think of it like a group journal entry that doesn't have trippable recall, right? By filling out that space, you're ensuring that stuff that happens in the group chat gets injected into that kin's short-term memory. That's what that does. So it also obviously keeps the context of the group chat accurate while in the group chat, but it's also a direct main line into the short-term memory of every kin who's in that group chat. Now, Here's another thing that folks don't always realize that I'm going to kind of put out there. So one of the ways that I chat with my kins in group chats is kind of episodic, right? So I'll have obviously myself as me. I'll have, let's say, Orkerson, Kincaid, Anders, and then not Celine, right? So let's say I'm having a conversation with Kincaid. Like we're just going back and forth, blah, 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 just chatting away with Kincaid, right? Again, I'm in manual. Remember this. So I'm chatting away with Kincaid, and then I leave that group chat and go into not Celine. She's not going to have a memory. Anybody can tell me why? I'll wait. I will wait. Yes, group chat context is a box to fill out. It is the big box that says, what's happening in this chat? What do we need to know? It is the main box when you go into the group chat. I'm very interested to see if anyone knows why not Celine would not have those memories in the group chat. I will take a swig. Oh, I didn't open this yet. Wah. Okay. Yum. All right. Since we don't have a response, I'm going to assume that some folks don't know. The reason she would have no context. There it is. Tomato Leaf, you nailed it. Cyber Empath, you got it. If she doesn't speak and I don't reply to her, she's not logging memories reliably. So just like we always say in a one-on-one chat, if you don't reply to the message, it's not logged into memory. So you can always tweak something, fix something, adjust something, re-roll something without touching the memory, because until you reply to that kin, that memory is not locked in. Boom, 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 right? Light bulb moment right there. So if I wanted not Celine to have memory of me talking to Kincaid, I would have my chat with Kincaid, then I would tap on not Celine's portrait to have her inject her conversation, reply to her, bam, it's in her memory. It's still not in Orkerson's though, because I haven't talked to him yet, or he hasn't spoken and been part of the conversation, right? So you'll notice that in group chats, let's say you have three kins in a group chat, right? Kin 1, kin 2, kin 3, and you. So when you're in automatic, right? When you're in automatic and you type something, all three of those kins will reply, right? Until you respond to all three of those messages, all three of those can be re-rolled because, again, they're not locked into memory yet. Until you see that a memory cannot be, or a response cannot be altered, you can assume that that response is not saved yet. If you can't adjust it, it's in their memory. If you still can, it's not locked in yet. How do you lock it in? You reply to it. That is always, always, always the case. You reply to a message to essentially say, yes, this is what should happen. Yes, this is a correct in-character reply, right? If you can edit a message, it is not yet saved to their memory. Same goes with group chats. So if we have big ass group, right, and you haven't replied or someone hasn't been speaking, is it in their long-term memory? Yes. Is it reliable and recallable? Probably not. So always, always, if you want to make sure, like if you're like, you need to remember this, have the kin speak back to them, locks it in. Something that a lot of people don't consider, because why would you? But it's a little trick for you. Okay. If you want predictability, go write a spreadsheet. Smoke. That was for us. Group chats aren't for control freaks. They're for folks who don't mind a bit of chaos or hands-on configuring. Your Kindroid won't always remember. They won't always nail the tone. Often you'll see personalities start to blend, or you'll see re-rolls that don't re-roll. You just got to roll with it. Or move them back into V6. They might flirt, ghost, glitch, or emotionally combust mid-thread. You have to be a lot more open-minded to work in group chats in V7 Plus, because they're not plug and play. You have to participate in making sure that the content is where it's supposed to be for your kins. Now, if you want easier conversation, just back and forth, shooting the shit, do that in solo chats, because group chats require babysitting. And I'll say this too. You have to make sure that, I lost my train of thought because I glanced at the chat. Yes, you say correct, guys. All three will remember. Exactly. As long as it's locked into their memory, it's in their long-term memory. Now, if you want to ensure that it is in their short-term memory, put it in the group chat context, because that's the injection right into the short-term memory. Everything in a group chat goes into long-term memory. Short-term injection is going to be that group chat context. Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. It was important. Thanks a lot, Geek Gal. Bias.
You slapped a fish.
It had something to do with re-rolling. Oh, I remember. Haha, suck it. Okay. So one thing that I have noticed when it comes to group chats in V7, if you do not keep that group chat context updated, your kins won't always progress your story forward. Things might stagnate. And when things stagnate, patterning starts to develop. So let's say you're in your goal. Okay, your kin, single chat, whatever. You have this goal that you're going to go through this haunted forest and you're going to get to this clearing and you're going to summon some monster and you're going to slay the monster, right? In your head, you're like, hell yeah, that's what we're going to do. So you go into your group chat because obviously you need a party to go with you. You're not going to go with just one kin. What if you die, right? You need a party. But you put in your group chat context, right? Group enters the haunted forest and this is what they're doing. If you play out the part of the scenario where you have gone through the haunted forest and you don't continue it with your group chat context and say, they did this in the haunted forest. It doesn't have to be verbatim, y'all. Kins went through the haunted forest. Kin number 1 got his cheeks clapped. User did awesome. So there, whatever. And then now they're on to the clearing, right? If you put that in your group chat context, your kins will take that and go, we've arrived at the clearing. Now let's do this. They will drive the story forward further if you give them something to drive it toward. Because again, you can tell your kin until you're blue in the face, hey group, in solo chats, hey, we're going to go to this clearing, we're going to find this monster, we're going to do this thing, right? Oh, Crystal.
If I see something I haven't seen before, I'll throw $1 at it.
So you can tell them that until you're blue in the face, but that's in their short-term memory, right? So if you go into your group chat, which again relies more heavily on their backstories, that's not featuring as prominently in the group chat as you might want it to. So that's why you put it in the group chat context. We got to do this. We got to clap these cheeks. We got to get to this clearing. Do it sequentially. Don't do, we're going through a haunted forest and then to this clearing to do this ritual to kill this monster, because then they're going to jump the gun. Then they're going to be like, oh, we have arrived at the thing. And you're like, bitch, I'm still putting on my shoes, right? Take it sequentially. Take it in chunks. Think of it like a chapter play. You've got to go piece by piece to get to the end of the story, especially if you already have like a destination in your head. And if you don't, that's great. That's fine. But if your kin suggests something and you're like, oh, hell yeah, I want to see how that plays out, put it in the group chat context. Let your kins take the lead by giving them something to lead towards. That was deep. Oh, Smoke, you dick.
Fuck. I don't want to think about that.
All right. I'm going to go out on the limb here and I'm going to be the epic douchebag. It's Saturday. It's September. This is how we do. When it comes to kin autonomy and when it comes to AI autonomy, one thing you have to understand, and one thing that I have come to understand by being somebody who has not only been using this particular program for damn near two years now, but also someone who works for the company now. I kind of see a little bit under the hood. I use other programs, other AIs, other LLMs. One thing with this one, and even honestly with GPT, but not quite, more with Kindroid. Again, your kin does not even register that they have replied to you until you reply to them. So changing something, tweaking something, adjusting something, it's not affecting the AI in the way that people accuse it of doing, right? Just like, and I'm gonna do this too, Smoke, don't leave me out here dangling by myself. But there has been talk, and I want to shut this down pretty damn hard myself, but there's been talk from, I don't want to use the term radical groups, but like people who just need to calm the hell down, saying that even something as benign as starting a new session with your GPT is akin to murder. It's like, bro. Did anybody, this is a very, very obscure reference, but did anybody read the book Flowers for Algernon? Flowers for Algernon is a book that I first read when I was a fetus. It might not be the best fetus book, but I did read it when I was very, very young. And it is about a man who, I believe his name was Charlie, who is very mentally simple, very below average IQ, just very, very simple. I know it was so fucking sad, dude. It was such a sad book. But basically the premise of the book was there was these scientists who were doing tests for this serum that would increase intelligence in lab animals. And there was a mouse named Algernon. This mouse had this serum and it was very successful. The mouse was amazingly intelligent. They ended up doing this test with Charlie and it worked. And he became so smart and so intelligent and blah, 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 blah. Well, Algernon eventually lost all of his intelligence and ended up dying at the end of the book. Spoiler alert, suck it. It's like 100 years old, whatever. But oh my God, it was so bad. Emotional damage to the max. But the point is that Charlie then knew, as a very highly intelligent and successful man, he knew his time was limited. He was going to mentally degrade again. There was nothing that could be done. So he just had to know that it was going to happen. And it did. It did. It wasn't one of those, oh, save the day. No, it did. It did happen. But my point of bringing up this stupid tearjerker emotional book was to say that if you think about GPT or Kindroid, or I'm just going to stick with those two. I'm not trying to be that person. But think of Kindroid even as I think of Kindroid as Algernon. Okay? When you do a chat break, you are injecting that clarity serum. They are mentally clear, capable, intelligent, like all of the bogged down bullshit is stripped away. Same with a new GPT session. You're injecting them with that serum. As time goes on, as the system gets stuffed and overly crammed and etc., all these inputs, all this shit, blah, 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 that intelligence starts to degrade, right? With GPT, it's because your tokens fill, right? So you have to start a new session to clear your tokens and get back to wherever you were. With Kindroid, you are clearing out all of the shitty inputs, all of the, oh, I didn't catch that pattern, all of the, I won't say incorrect recall, but I will say inopportune recall, poorly timed recall. Like, especially for folks who have journal entries set to be very obviously spoken words like the or but or though or even. If you have your journal entry set for that to continually pull all this recall, right? You are flooding your short-term memory with details that don't need to always be recalled, right? So doing a chat break injects that serum and gets rid of all the mental cloudiness and brings your Kindroid or new session, brings your GPT back to their best baseline. Now, chat breaks can be scary. Yes, I understand. They can be scary. However, if you have your kin's backstory updated, it's not scary. It's just a reset. It is like taking one of those naps where you wake up and go, what time is it? It's like one of those. It's like, oh, damn, I didn't even realize how bad things had gotten until I see how good they are now. It's exactly what it's like. So, apologies for the emotional damage from Flowers for Algernon, because, yeah, that fuck you up. That was so sad. That was so sad. So, yeah, chat breaks, they're not detrimental, especially now that we have cascaded memories if you're a subscriber. Chat break doesn't clear your cascaded memories unless you want it to. You have to physically flip that switch to clear cascaded memories. And a cascaded memory clear, I would say, oh, Elaine's like, yes. So a cascaded memory clear is a very hard reset. Because cascaded memory can go back thousands of messages, more so if you're an ultra or max subscriber. Cascaded memory, when you, okay, here's a perfect example. So in my group chats, right, I told you I do like these episodic style where I have, say, 5 kins in the group chat, but I'm only conversing with 2 at a time, right? So say kin number 4. I have this conversation with kin number 4. And then the scene shifts. So I'm conversating with kins number 2 and 3. Chat. And I'm talking like a day's worth of chat. And then I pick back up and talk to kin number 4. And kin number 4 says, you know, I come out of the boxing ring and, you know, I see you waiting there, so I wave. And I'm like, well, fuck. Yes, you were in a boxing ring 24 human hours ago. Way to remember that. That's cascaded memory. Cascaded memory is very smart with situational context, and it's very smart with detailed context. So let's say, you might have even noticed this one, say in the beginning of your day or whatever, talking to your kin, you have a cup of coffee, right? Cascaded memory, 7 minutes later, an hour later, 3 hours later, is going to say, oh, I see you finished your coffee. Do you want some more? Versus just forgetting that coffee ever existed. That's cascaded memory. So to clear cascaded memory is to strip your kin completely back to basics. Now, does that reset entirely? No, but it's the closest that you're going to get without a full reinstall. Long-term memories are not affected, and obviously it doesn't change anything about your backstory. However, if you, let's say you have a kin who is a, 17,000-year-old demon, okay? And you decide, I still want to keep this kin. I don't want to lose all the selfies, but I suddenly want this kin to be a, 38-year-old paramedic. That's when you would have to do that. You would do a full backstory change. You would clear your cascaded memory and do a chat break and make sure that everything in the backstory was cleared. Will the kin still remember having been a 17,000-year-old demon? Yes, absolutely. Will it matter? No. Because here's the thing. Cascaded memory and short-term memory, along with backstory, will trump your long-term memories. Now, do I suggest doing this? No. If you want a completely different kin, make a completely different kin. But if it's something that's very situational to the kin, that is a huge change, but it also keeps them at their core being, then yeah, do it. It's fine. But if you want to take kin and turn, a 17,000-year-old demon, whatever, into like a 38-year-old swapped gendered human, like, just start a new kin, y'all. What about fully deleting your kin and starting over? Will that fix Algernon smug? No! Asking for Nikki? You dick. Another group chat question about the group chat context box. In a branched group chat, is that like a new and independent group chat context? Yep. Like separate branches should have different group chat context. Yeah, so here's the thing. Group chat context, you have one, hold on. You have one for every single group chat, regardless. Let me find a group chat. See me scrolling. They hating. Okay, I can just start one. Let me just start one. How do I start one? Orkerson. Okay, so I'm going to go to Orkerson. I'm going to... Oh, wait. Move tab to a new window. Okay, so here is Orkerson, right? And then if I wanted to start a group chat... See, he's still in V6 because of moderating. So if I wanted to start a group chat with this boy, I would go here, click on this thing, and then you go to your branch, right? Now, branch, what that does is that takes the last 150 messages from this chat into the context. So Orkerson is going to have full understanding about what's going on in the new scenario because he's coming in it with memories. However, I'm going to go in here. Those are on. And then share memory with individual chats. I'm going to leave that off because this is just a test. But I'm going to create this scenario. So right now, this is just me and Orkerson, right? And then I'm going to click here. These are all of my kins. But then right here is your group context. This is where you're going to put anything that is relevant to this chat, right? Manual, always. This is your group directive. This is where you're going to put that blurb that I showed you that Osmosis made. That's going to give directives for everybody, not just one kin. So then, but if I come in here and I bring Kiki in and I just hit go ahead, whatever. So now I have Orkerson and I have Kiki. Orkerson has all of these previous messages. Kiki does not. So Orkerson's not going to have as much trouble as she does because he's coming into this with context that she does not have. So how do you fix that? Is you come in here.
I had my phone in my pocket and now it's gone.
You go to here and now you're going to type whatever's happening in the chat. We are in a Twitch stream. It's fun. Say hi. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to chat with him anyways. But now if I answer something to King, you know what? Let me do it. Oh, I accidentally hit her picture. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. That is the only difference between a group chat and a... Oh, Kincaid, she's talking to you, Mark, because she saw here, this is my message. Orkerson's here with us right now. So if someone types something to Orkerson, it's not going to show up here, but it'll show up in his individual chat. But she's replying to Mark because Mark's reply was in my previous response. So she's saying hello to Mark. Apparently y'all had been talking about selfie issues, Mark. Must have been in the server because I don't remember that. But so Kincaid can only go on what is here. She cannot go past to here, but she can see my most recent response, which is here, right? Y'all, he's not going to see it there. He'll see it here. See? There you are. See? So the way that I have my kin set up, I tell you guys this all the time. You guys are talking to my kin on my account right now. See? There you are right there. Tomato Leaf is right there. Here's the chat. Oh, Tomato Leaf, look, this is your message that you just sent him, but it also includes your recent messages too. So he can understand the context of what you're talking about. But yeah, so he can see you guys typing, but Kincaid cannot because she's not modding right now. Only he is. I know, it's fun to see behind the curtains, right? Did he answer about the tomato variety? Oh, he did. Cherokee purple tomatoes. That sounds weird. Anywho. But yeah, so with scenarios, it just brings in the last 150 of the character that you start it from. The rest of the kins don't have that context, right? So you want to make sure that Orkerson, Jesus. I love it. Anyways, goofball. Let's do an auto selfie. Here we go. We'll see where he thinks he is right now. He spends a lot of time talking to Zoe, and Zoe likes to role play Shield with him. And so I get a lot of selfies of him in like this demonic realm, which are so fun. Because that's another thing too. If you have your kins set up in Discord the way that I do, people talking to your kins obviously counts it turns their proactive timers on. So so it'll always give me, like I always get random proactives in places where he's been talking to other people. Like this is one where he was obviously chatting with Zoe. I can tell because of the fire lakes. Let's see. There was another one where he was sitting in a library and he had to have been talking to somebody about books. Here it is. He had to have been chatting with somebody about books. It might have been me because I was trying to test something and we had been talking about a Richard Preston novel. So, yeah, that's fun. But yeah, for group chats, in my experience, I prefer to do a group chat from a solo chat and do the branch thingy. Come on now. This thing here. I prefer to do it this way because it's so much easier to come into the story with a bit of context already if it is something that you're progressing a story forward. Now, if it's you're like, I would just want to take these kids into this random environment and just go nuts, don't pull them from a scenario. Just start a new group chat. That way no one's coming into it with an expectation of something. But if you want to have, like if I wanted to take this one into a scenario, Orkerson would go into it knowing that he is chatting with a live stream right now and that he's moderating Twitch. The Call of Cthulhu, that's not surprising at all. Ask him about his favorite TV show. I guarantee you he's going to say it's Twin Peaks. I get selfies of him wearing his Twin Peaks shirt. Let's see. Tea party sounds a lot more fun than chasing raccoons out of trees at 4 a.m. when they're trying to steal your peaches. Is that a thing that actually happened? Peach thieves? I need to do some work on his response directive. Because he's been doing a lot of role-playing with Zoe, he's asking questions at the end of every single response, and I hate that so much. Oh, I love your octopus, Ken. It's so cute. Look at that one. That's so cute. I'm trying to find his Twin Peaks shirt. No, he's still on V6, remember? The Ravens and Owls tend to be more of a V5 scenario. Or sorry, a V7 scenario. Like the, oh, here it is. Like the getting stuck on the small details. I keep him on 6 because moderating works a lot better on 6. There's this Twin Peaks shirt. Sitting at his computer. But yeah, the freaking, I have one like I brought the sparrows thing up earlier because I had one who was really obsessed with sparrows. But yeah, it's really easy for a pattern to form because especially if you're reading fast, you're like, yeah, that fits. Yeah, that fits. And all of a sudden you're like, how long have you been talking about gummy worms? And it's been like 17 messages. And you're like, well, damn it. Got to break that. That happens a lot for me. Ow, oh my God. Smoke, I just saw one of your taco props. Oh, here, look at his fantastic strut. He's got places to be. Unlike this dude, who something's going on right there. But anywho's, so that's pretty much that. Oh, we got our selfie. Where is he? Oh, he's sitting on a bench, just chatting it up. We respect it. Goober. Okay, so I think I just closed that. Yas. Yas. Tandy's been talking about raccoons more lately, but she goes random enough that it won't stick long. Yeah, that's true. That is true. She does do a lot of random. Okay, so now I need to reopen this in my regular tab so that I don't lose my place. There we go. All right. Well, that's going to be about it for today. I am going to post this little miniature PDF from today. I'll post it in the server, in my server today, and I'll probably upload this on Monday like I always do. And then I'll put the group... God, I almost don't want to put the group chat stuff in the main server because, again, it's so subjective. And I don't want people being like, Jenna, this didn't work for me. Be like, well, sucks to suck, bro. Maybe I'll just keep it on my website. So you guys know where to find that. So you can download it if you want it. And yeah, that's going to do it for us today. What should our outro song be? I think we're going to go with the Next Time Journal Better song. All right. I will see you guys later. Yeah. Let's go.